This is lesson 9.5 on the distance formula for geometry. So before we start, there's a formula for distance, and it's the distance between 2 points, A and B. If we call A x1, y1, that means our first x and our first y. Then we'll call B the x2, y2, which means our second x and our second y. So the distance formula, I can get into a deeper explanation if you come see me during class, but just for the efficiency of the video, I'll just show you the formula. What you're going to do is take x2 minus x1. So you're going to find the difference between the x values, and then you're going to square that. Then what you're going to do is find the difference between the y values, square that, add them up, and then square root it. It sounds like a lot because it is kind of a lot, but if you can find the differences, you can type the rest into your calculator pretty easily. So let's look at a couple of examples. They want us to find the distance between coordinate A and B. So the coordinate for A is 2, 6, and B is 4, 2. So if we put A on our coordinate grid, 2, 6 means over 2, up 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then B is 4, 2. 4, 2. Now the distance between those lines is kind of unknown because it cuts through some of the boxes. But if we had gone straight down, this would be about 1, 2, 3, 4 units. So because it got stretched over, that means it's going to be a little bit more than 4. So this should be a little more than 4. We'll just keep that in our head. A little bit more than 4. Because if it was straight down, it would be 4. So if we use our formula, first thing I typically do is I will call this x1, y1, first x, first y. And I call this x2, y2. Now they have it written out here, but on some of the assignments, the x1, y1, x2, y2 is not written out. So I usually just label the coordinate like I have. x1 is 2, y1 is 6, x2 is 4, y2 is 2. So in the formula, what we do, square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. The only thing that really matters here is you need to start. If you put x2 first, you've got to put y2 first. You could interchange x1 and x2, it doesn't matter, as long as you do the second coordinate and the second coordinate first and first. So x2 is, we have it as 4. x1 we have used 2. y2 we've used 2. And y1 we've used 6. So to simplify a little bit, 4 minus 2 is 2 squared, plus 2 minus 6 is negative 4 squared. Now this part's really important. You have to make sure you put that in parentheses in your calculator. Otherwise it will give you an incorrect answer. What you get here is 4 plus 16, which is the square root of 20. So the square root of 20 is the radical. That's the distance. The simplified radical is what we have been doing. So it'd be 4 times 5, which means it's 2 root 5. And then the approximation is how much is the square root of 20. So second square root 20 is 4.47. Now if you look back to what we said at the very beginning, it should be a little more than 4, and it is a little bit more than 4. All right, the next one, I call this x1, y1, so negative 2 and 3. x2, y2, so 6 and 1. If we graph these, negative 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and 6, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1. When you connect those, if the line was perfectly straight, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 units long. So this should be a little more than 8. All right, let's fill in our formula. Square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. X2 is 6, x1 is negative 2. Now, be careful, you have to write a double negative here. You have to. Y2 is 1, and y1 is 3. 6 minus negative 2 becomes 8. Minus a negative is a plus. This is negative 2 squared. 8 squared is 64. Negative 2 squared is 4. You need parentheses. Without parentheses, your calculator will say negative 4, but it should be a positive. Negative times a negative is a positive. All right, so the radical is square root 68. Simplified radical, okay. If we do 68 divided by our perfect squares, we're going to start at 34, but the first number closest to that in our list is 25. So if we do 68 divided by 25, garbage. 68 divided by 16, garbage. 68 divided by 9, nope. 68 divided by 4 is 17, okay. So we're going to change this to the square root of 4 times 17, which is 2 root 17. And then the approximation is if you type that into your calculator. So second square root 68, 8.25. Whoops. And at the very beginning, we said it should be a little bit more than 8.25. Sorry, a little bit more than 8, and it is. It's 8.25.